All right, good day and welcome to Small Biz Aid Live. Our session today is titled Making Your Digital Whole. And in a moment, I will introduce you to our session moderator. Please use our session's Q&A to ask questions. I will review questions and direct them to our moderator, but please be aware our audience size might mean that your specific question will not be answered. But please join our alignable small business groups at the end of the session to continue the dialogue. Links to these groups will be provided in the chat at the end of the session and are also posted on our agenda at smallbizaid.org, linked here in the chat. It's now my pleasure to introduce your session moderator, Gail Gardner from Biz Sugar.
Hello, everyone. Glad to see you're here. Had me worried there for a minute. So, small business marketing can seem really overwhelming. There's so many places to interact with customers and to be found, and content and social, but it is getting easier. There are CRM tools to handle customer service across non-social channels and tools to automate your marketing and manage your social media accounts. We are fortunate to have with us today 3 experts to share their experience providing marketing services and strategy to small businesses like yours. First, we have Holly Pilkovich. Holly, is that how you say that?
Pilkavage, close enough.
Pilkavage, okay. She leads an integrated team of creative visionaries to develop and deploy multi-channel marketing strategies. She began her career as a professional speaker, later joining the startup Cole Creative as operations and business development director. Today, after championing the agency's rapid growth, she became CEO in 2020. Holly sets a tone of servanthood for the whole firm and volunteers to help lead local organizations, including the Young Professionals Council, Dress for Success of Luzerne County, and the Northeast Pennsylvania Rainbow Alliance. She holds degrees from the University of Scranton and the University of Akron. Evana Taylor is a publisher of DIY Marketers, a resource for entrepreneurs who want to do less marketing and make more money. In 2010, she ranked number 21 out of 30,000 influential people on the internet. She is the book editor for Small Business Trends, a contributing author at the American Express Open Forum, and has appeared on MSNBC. She's also on the board of the Biz Sugar Mastermind community, where she shares her processes, including one for simplifying how to choose a marketing strategy. Lior Kralowitz, close enough, Lior?
Perfect, actually.
Is the CEO of Yale Consulting, an online marketing consultancy where he helps e-commerce and lead generation businesses grow profitably online. His unique experience positions him to provide a unique online marketing consulting services to small businesses worldwide. Lior managed online marketing budgets of over $1 million a month at one of the nation's largest marketing agencies. In 2011, he decided to bring those world-class proven marketing techniques to small businesses. As an ex-special ops commander, he is passionate about being a true Google Ads expert and developing high-performance teams and helping small businesses win online. Welcome, guys. Glad to see you're all here.
Hello.
Thank you.
Hi.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, so this is a big topic, but I'm going to give you each a question, and if you'll address it, and then the other 2 can jump in with their thoughts. Let's start with Holly. What are some of the biggest challenges facing small businesses as they work to integrate online shopping?
So this is a great question, and actually one I took to my team as well, my web development team here. Over the past year, especially within the pandemic, we had some opportunities to work through some local agencies and help a lot of our local businesses get connected. So there was a few different things I wanted to talk about today where some of the challenges that we saw over and over again. The first and foremost, might be the most obvious, especially if you are a small business owner, is time. Time is definitely one, whether we're in a pandemic or not, business owners are always, honestly, they're busy running the actual business. So being able to find the time to set aside and get themselves online if they're not already on there. If you are on there, then managing it, keeping it updated, all of that. And if you were analog during the pandemic and you're going digital now, you need the time to learn what that looks like as well if you're not able to partner with somebody to help you with that. Another one was assets. And again, this is assuming that maybe you're a little bit more analog or just haven't worked with somebody to get things like your product photography, understanding and having a spreadsheet outlining your inventory, and then of course making decisions around shipping if that's going to be an option that you have if you're going beyond serving your local community or region. Things like, will it be a flat rate, and how would you manage that? Do you have somebody on your team, and if you're a one-man shop, is that reasonable for you? And then I think lastly, I would say one of the biggest challenges is understanding the fact that you need to choose a payment system, and then also being able to connect that, whether it's through a bank account, PayPal, things like that. Fortunately, there's platforms like Shopify, which we talked a little bit about yesterday when us as panelists got together, that definitely helps streamline these processes and make it a little bit more step-by-step for you if you're not very familiar. There's also, again, it depends on, there's something called CMS system, your content management system. So if maybe you are more prone to something like a WordPress, they have plugins and implementations called WooCommerce. So again, things that you can integrate that make it a little bit easier. But again, I don't want to talk over anybody's head here either. And I'm just assuming that maybe you have some basic knowledge, and if not, there's of course people out there that can help you through that as well.
Yes, I'll jump in here because my list is completely different from yours. Of course, in a very different area of business. As a publisher, the questions I get most often are really pragmatic, things like even more basic than what you talked about, generating quality leads and targeted traffic. People struggle with finding the right customer. So they might hear that there's a lot of customers there, and then it's crickets back, right? The third one, I think, overlaps with what you're talking about, Holly, which is finding the right tools. There are so much overwhelm when it comes to choosing the right tools. Another challenge I have is actually engaging customers, and I think we'll be talking a little bit more about that. Building loyalty, repeat business, generating referrals. So those are definitely the typical challenges. And finally, of course, there's converting shoppers to customers. So I am being your straight person, Lior, because I think that really is going to transition into some of the challenges that you see from your clients.
Yeah, thanks, Ivana. So yeah, what Holly and Ivana definitely are a lot of the major issues and challenges, and I think there are a lot of opinions out there. A lot of people make it sound like it's very easy and very simple, and you got to be everywhere and doing everything at once, which is very overwhelming for small businesses. And I tend to err on the side of think how to start simple on what you have, what assets you already have. If you only have photos for half your products, and those are the good ones, start there. Don't start investing in taking photography of all your products, and the best, start with something. And then once you get some traction, you get some input, some extra data, you can iterate and improve on it, but start with what you have. Also, websites like Shopify and even WordPress have plugins that allow you to create product feeds for e-commerce. And you can reuse that on Google Ads, Bing Ads, Facebook, and it helps manage everything in a much more simple way. So sticking to the basics and just getting it out there and starting with something and not trying to invest all your money at once into getting everything perfect out the gate is definitely something I would start with, and then iterate once you get data coming through. And even at that point, if you start that way and you get some input, when you do reach out to a consultant or an expert, they have some data points to help guide you and explain to you where it went wrong, and you'll be further along.
Did you want to jump in?
Oh, no, I'm good. I started with answering the question.
We just all look so eager to talk here.
That's good. You're all welcome to just jump in on any question you like, or we could go to the next thing. Up to you.
Yeah, let's keep rocking.
Oh, you know what? I do want to jump in with something. I want to send out a question to the audience, because this will really, because Lior just talked about focus. We really want to focus and give you the most relevant advice. So if you could, in the chat, tell us what type of business you have. What kind of business are you? Are you retail? Are you restaurant? Are you a consultant? Are you like a Main Street business? Are you a manufacturer? professional. In the chat, give us some data so we can sort of target our answers to better answer your questions. So that way we can go talking about that.
Yeah. Or any nagging question you've had for a while and haven't found the answer for?
Yeah, not yet. I think we have a quiet group, folks. We have a very quiet group. And I'm a little bit surprised because I think, again, some of the biggest questions I get are from businesses who are really struggling to pull everything together. It's just way too much to choose from.
So should we talk a little bit about, do we want to go super basic? Like, let's say you're completely analog and you have nothing. Like, what would Ivana or Lior, would you say website first, Facebook page? Does it depend on your industry? Do we have any thoughts there? Like, what should you start with?
Well, I'm going to jump in, and then Lior is going to, I want to jump in because this is like, I am so nuts about this. I'm so nuts about, I think it's really important to choose two things, and these are choices. And I hear too many business owners say that they can sell to everybody and that they try 1,000 different things. And that's a surefire way to waste a lot of money and go out of business. So what I tell people is always, always choose who your ideal customer is. Take the time to figure that out. If everyone is not an answer, you want something really, really specific. I have a friend who's a financial planner, and she actually, her target audience are women going through divorce. You see how specific that is? You could be like at a cocktail party, at a barbecue, and so, you're going to identify her ideal customer pretty quick. So be that specific with your customer and who you want to serve. And then the second thing you're going to need to choose in order to get benefit from what we're going to be talking about here is your marketing strategy. There's only 3 to choose from. You've got paid advertising, you've got content, and you have direct marketing. This would be like your referrals. Like, this is kind of the thing Alignable is all into, building networking and referrals and community, right? So once you've chosen one of those 3 strategies, everything that we're going to talk about will suddenly make a lot more sense. So now I'm going to bounce it over to either Holly or Lior, having said my 2 cents.
Yeah, with getting specific and looking at the chat, what was written in here, just kind of go through this rapid fire quickly. Like training consultants, it's a little vague to kind of understand what kind of training it does, but say retail bath and body products, even there, like there's such a broad range of different types of soaps and body products. Like, what is it specifically that the product that you can compete online and say, here's why we're special, right? Instead of saying we offer everything that Target does or Bed Bath & Beyond, that's too broad to go head to head with them. If you have something special that's organic or local or something, lead with that. Music school, if there's a certain instrument, if it's voice, piano, flute, if you're local, around, so saying I'm local and we do these instruments, there's some experience in it, that'll be more real estate consulting, buyers, sellers, investors, right? Get a little more specific there to where you want to target. Graphic designer, making sure you start with people that maybe are more local, right? If someone's looking for India, you don't want to show up. But if they're saying, but if someone looks for a graphic designer, you can say, I'm across the street and I do these kinds of things, and here's my portfolio, the website. That's a good place to get, they're more likely to become a customer. Same thing with a drywall installation. Is it new construction, repairs, remodeling? Is it, right? Do you work with insurance? If all these different kind of things are going to be pertinent to grab the exact customer that's looking for you. And also with artists. I mean, art is such a broad thing, but if you want people around your brick and mortar store, you would just draw in Google Ads, for example, put a radius around, and you can either push ads out to people who are interested in art or look for keywords that talk about the type of art, right? So getting very specific on where the people are, accounting services, again, it's very broad. Businesses, personal, SMBs, enterprise, all these kind of different things, and you want to segment it out. So when someone looks for accounting services, you don't know if they're a good customer. You do tax returns for individuals, and they look for individual tax return, and you tell them you do that, that's a lot better path. Qualify them, bring them to your website, to the page that says what you do, and bring them in there.
That makes me want to ask Holly a question, right? Because let's go back to Holly's question, which is, given the businesses that we've seen here, Holly, do you have a recommendation as to maybe what they should be doing first? When, for example, when should you invest in like a WordPress website, and when is it okay to go to Wix or something or Shopify or something that's more, what would I call that, done for you?
Yeah, no, I think it again comes down to what industry you're in. And I know there's all different ones here, and Leora did a great job kind of going through and hitting on all of them. So not to kind of reiterate that, but I think when I think about Shopify, I think about products, something that you go right there, you're selling, that you have an inventory of some sort. I think it's a great way, whether it's a landing page or a little bit more in depth, like it's one of the go-to resources. I won't hide behind it. We love WordPress here at Cole Creative. It is user-friendly enough. We work with a lot of small businesses and nonprofits locally that want to be able to go in, make updates, changes, et cetera, and lean into us for some more general web maintenance. So with that being said, Pro WordPress, again, it's one where they have templates available. You could work through it, and you could get it set up at minimal cost until you get to that point where maybe you have more of a marketing budget and you could work with a consultant or a marketing agency, whatever that might look like. Because while those tools might be, I guess, let's call it plug and play to some extent, they're not always perfect. So it is good to eventually be able to work with somebody who knows how to actually make sure things are mobile friendly, because as we know, most people are on their phones at this point, their iPads, et cetera, making purchases, all of that good stuff. It's tough to say. I'm going to say it comes down to an individual conversation around, should you be on Facebook over Instagram versus a website first? I think at the very least, especially, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong here on the panel here, but we're talking about Google Ads and making sure we're on Google. Again, peeling back the layers of the onion here, make sure you have a Google My Business account first and foremost. So get yourself, just literally type in Google My Business account in Google in the search bar, and you'll be able to set that up, your name of business, where you're located, what hours you're open, all of that. I mean, it's a free resources to at least get you started and eventually become relevant in local searches as well. So throwing a lot out there. And I also know that I'm noticing there's a chat, but then there's also a Q&A section on this. So we're learning as we go here. Somebody did note, Cheryl, she said, I'm a consultant business for organizational development and women's health. How do I generate traffic to my website? And I feel like maybe this goes back to a little bit where Ivana, earlier you were saying, there's a couple different tracks you could take. There's the paid advertising, direct marketing, content, et cetera. So of course, I mean, anyone can jump in here, Ivana, Leora as well. But I guess off the bat, I don't know if you're serving locally, across the nation, internationally. Is it completely digital? That can be a little bit of a tough market. I think health and wellness and things like that are very prevalent right now in 2021 with everything going on. So I think it comes down to, of course, kind of who is that target audience? Are you serving everyone, or do you have a more specific target demographic in mind? Because I think that will help you, especially if you're putting money behind ads and whatnot. Going back to the Google My Business account, making sure that you're also set up with your analytics so that you can pull keywords. I can go on all day, so I do want to open it up to make sure the other panel members, because and we're throwing a lot at you, so I hope we're taking notes. I think this is being recorded. There's a lot of odds and ends here, but I'll throw it back to Leora and Ivana if they want to jump into this one.
Go ahead, Leora. I'm sure you're chomping to
Oh, I love this stuff. Yeah. I'm on your website, and the three words that jump out, consulting, advocating, and empowering, right? Those words in themselves are also so broad, because consulting can be anything, for businesses, for people, for, you know what I mean? Advocating can be thousands of causes. Empowering, so yes, those are powerful words, but getting specific to who you want to target, that's what you want to make sure it's top and center. Because people online, I heard it many years ago, have attention span of a goldfish. So they come to your site, they read a few words, not sure, they hit back, go to the next one. So if they can understand consulting for me, whatever that is, then they will are likely to keep reading and scrolling down. So it's important to have those powerful words, but try to get more specific on the type of consulting. Even if it's 3 lines, consulting for this, advocating for this, and empowering this, right? For CEOs or executive, for people. I didn't scroll down yet, but even that level of specificity would help people stick. Okay, I'm on the right spot. Now let me keep reading, and then you can engage them.
That's such a great point, right? Because I think what you're going through to, Leora, is the question was, how do I get traffic? And the way you get traffic, especially these days, and they talked about it in some of the other sessions, is through search. The first thing people do is search. And can I just tell, I mean, I don't see any restaurants here. That's because they're probably working. But that was so frustrating for those folks. That's something very simple, and it's free to go in there and fill out your Google My Business. That's a incredible way to start getting traffic. But there are some other ways to generate traffic. I have been enamored with quizzes lately, especially if you can have a quiz on your website. You can have a quiz and put it up on social media. It can be organic, meaning that you just post it up there to your community, or you can push ads to a quiz that is legit. If you're health and wellness, you might say, what's the best diet for my body type? I don't know. I'm not very good at this, but you come up with these quizzes. People love them. They're like super engaging. I'm going to say, so those are ways that you can generate traffic and interest. And I'm a big believer in building your email list, because that's a list of buyers. Everyone else. So you want to really, I would say, if your business, how do I say this? If content and traffic and that type of thing is what your business is all about, you'd probably want to invest in like this WordPress thing and do what Holly said. If you're a photographer and you don't have time to do bunches of different marketing, I tell you what, I've heard GoDaddy. I've heard great things about GoDaddy and their SEO system for finding local businesses. They're very good. Their sites are simple. Mm-hmm. Same with Wix. So just because some experts are recommending a variety of different things doesn't mean that you have to go for that. Think about where your customer is coming from. That's the most important. And that's where you need to be. That's my advice. Double down. Pick something and double down.
I want to reinforce what Ivana said here about email. I think some people say, is that still relevant? Like I just had, I have 40,000 unread. It actually is, even with Gen Z. And again, like that with your target markets, there are studies where Gen Zers are checking their emails 58%. Like they're, I don't have direct numbers in front of me or anything, but they're actually active there too. So it is still relevant. It's a reminder, even if it's just a brand awareness thing, they see your name popping up, even you might go to the trash can, but they saw your name again. So, and it's something that it's during the lunch hour, before you actually get into your emails for the morning, people are checking those things. So I would say with the emails, making sure that it's not just a bunch of information that doesn't take them anywhere. I think call to actions are really important with that, and not to get us too off track and just talking about email, but I know we're talking about the whole digital experience here on today's panel. Just making sure that that's thought out as well. Like what does that pathway look like to get them back to whatever it is that you're looking to do, sell something, provide a service, whatever that might be. I saw a question. You mentioned content as a marketing approach. What exactly do you mean, and where is it most effective to post content? Before, if I could just throw in, so to me, there's all different aspects of content. When we're talking about web and talking about search, your SEO, search engine optimization, and we're talking about building your websites and maybe having quizzes, or you're blogging, or having some kind of news updates, whatever you want to refer to that as well. Keeping in mind that, well, one, Google and just search engine algorithms are always changing, but I think in the past, people would just take what they believe their keywords were. So you're, health and wellness, so you put health and wellness, health and wellness, health and wellness all over your website. That's actually frowned upon when the web crawlers are going through your website, trying to find you and whatnot in today's world. So think about how you would speak, or I don't know, ask one of your electronic devices at home, like, Alexa, where's the nearest Mexican food restaurant? Think about the way that you think about things and search about things, because that's how the internet is working today. And that's the types of content that you want to create, whether it's updating those blogs or having certain web pages on your website. Then thinking about social media, again, Deborah, I don't know exactly, I apologize, what industry or what your business might be, but with their social media platforms, that just comes down to target demographics and what you're looking to do on those. So I'll kind of answer that high level if you wanted to follow up with that, and I'll pass it over to the other panel members if they want to add anything.
Yeah, I wanted to add to what you were saying earlier, Holly, about the platform. WordPress has definitely been around for very, very long, one of the longest, and you can go to websites like Theme Forest and buy beautiful templates for like $30. You can see it all there, and all you say is, I love this theme, I like the way it looks, the website looks, and all you do is you buy it for $30, think they might be able to install it for you, and then you say, I'll replace this picture with my picture, this text with my text, and it's already so organized and nice, and it's a very easy way to get a very nice site. And WordPress is also good because it's so known. It's fairly easy to find a freelancer or someone that can help you with it if you don't want to do it yourself. It's pretty intuitive, but if not, it's very easy to find someone that's an expert in that versus Wix is a little bit harder sometimes, and then Shopify or WordPress is definitely a good.
Yeah.
You know what we should probably talk about before we wind down a little bit is tools to help you integrate some things. Again, I think we talked about this in our meeting yesterday when we were preparing, and we were hard pressed to find one tool that's going to manage absolutely everything. I'm sure there is one, but probably not on a budget that any of us are willing to invest. However, there's a good chance that you could probably depending on what strategy you choose, right? So let's say that you're doing you're going to do a bunch of Facebook ads, and you're going to really engage on Facebook or Instagram. Then you definitely want to be using a tool that's going to make sure that you grab all that you can see that. Or if you're more of a brick and mortar, or you're doing something where it's just your customer relationship management and email, then so there are tools that'll measure like some social and social listening, but then there's, you know what I mean? You can't get them all in one, so you're going to have to choose. So I thought, let's talk a little bit about how can you manage all this once you've chosen stuff? I should throw it over to someone. Lior, you want to jump in?
A tricky one. Yeah, I mean, it really depends what you want to work with to manage it. But I would say most things can be managed. Like if you're using Google Ads, just use Google Ads. I wouldn't start with these tools that integrate with it and give you all these insights, and start simple with what you have there. If anything seems too expensive to start, you probably don't need it to start. So just start simple. I mean, go through tutorials, especially Google tutorials, Google Ads. Going through their free tutorial will tell you how it works, and will give you a good starting point to set things up in a basic way, versus reading 1,000 different opinions and strategy and advanced stuff and a lot of conspiracy theories. Start off simple in that sense. And I think one thing that's underestimated is like reaching out to people like us. I think people call me that say I'm spending $300, and I give them a couple tips and get them further along. And I think the kind of people that I like helping, so yeah, that's always available.
We talked about it a little bit yesterday, Lior. If you recall, if we're leaning a little bit more into the digital social media side, there are tools like Hootsuite. I think they're up to like $75 a month now. They used to be $15 back in the day. I think they blew up in the pandemic. Good for them. But that might not be a budget for everybody. We talked a little bit about, if you're on Facebook and Instagram, they now have their scheduling tools built right in where you can be scheduling out to both of them ahead of time. On Sundays, Monday mornings, whatever it might be. So while you're managing your business, running your business, you're not thinking about the post you have to get out that day. So leaning into those management systems as well that are already integrated and speaking to one another. Unfortunately, I don't think that you can schedule out on LinkedIn and or Twitter at this point. I think they're kind of still real time, but just trying to lean into whatever's free if you need to, if you're still bootstrapping.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do have one recommendation that you do, and there is a tool for this, but you can do this just on the native platform. If you don't like we were just saying, if you don't have the money, absolutely take the time to search, keyword search, whether it's on Google, all through social media. Search phrases like recommend, right? Like if you're in the insurance business or car insurance or whatever. And, Facebook now has an entire tag for recommendations, right? So if you just track those recommendations, I see on my Facebook stream dozens and dozens of referrals hitting. And of course, Alignable has groups, and there are lots of groups on LinkedIn, although I don't know that the LinkedIn groups are that good. I think you're probably better off if you're a local business to create partnerships and collaborative partnerships with other businesses who might be sell to the same customer but different services. But definitely take the time to search on your keywords, your brand names, your products, and just see what people are talking about.
Yeah, another example of keeping things simple and with tools, sometimes the business owners, they heard about phone call tracking and they want to make sure they can get the attribution correctly and know where it's coming from. Then sometimes I ask them, how many phone calls are you getting right now? And they say none. I said, okay, any extra call? It's from Google Ads. It's pretty simple. Use kind of, if you start the ads and if the phone starts ringing, it's good enough. You don't have to have it down perfectly and make the investment. Once the phone starts ringing, something is working, then you can make the investment and get more sophisticated. But start simple.
Yeah, start simple, double down, and take what you have. I think that's one of the big messages. And we've been talking about practical tips here. I'm going to check the chat and see, because I'm sure that there are questions. I see real estate freelancers. We talked about list building and management. Yeah. Where do you guys see people getting most confused? Actually, I have a question. I have a question for all of our chatty audience. Lisa asked the question, why search the word recommend? I'm going to tell you why you want to search the recommend. Not just recommend, but imagine recommend and let's say doctor, recommend real estate agent, recommend whatever, in your social media feeds. There is a tool that does this. It's called Brand24, but I think it's $49 a month. It might be even higher now. And I would say you could program your Hootsuite, or you could program some of these other tools to always be looking for those kinds of comments, but you can do it. I recommend you do it manually first, just so you can see what you're finding, right?
Yeah.
So I want to ask all of you guys, I wanted to ask, I lost my train of thought there about, I lost my train of thought because I got on that question about recommend.
I can take a look.
Go ahead, take a look.
No, while I think about that, but I know Paul asked, how do you get noticed more noticed when you're service providers such as water restoration? I think the way to get noticed at all is, especially for local businesses, put in the word in Google, water restoration services, and look at all the ads, and just think, how can my ads stand out different than this? Right? Do you take insurance? Right? And try to be different, because if all the ads look alike, they're just going to skim over them. Try to think how you're both using the ad to qualify the traffic. So if you don't take insurance, say we don't take insurance, because you'll at least not get the clicks from those who are looking for those. And then also try to see visually, how can you make it? Are you in business for over 20 years? Not everyone can say that. And so if you are, you might want to put 20 plus years in business, and that shows a little credibility. What are the main points that differentiate you? Try to squeeze it in the ad with the characters, and qualify them with the ads. And I think that's a good way to get noticed.
That's a great point, Lior. I guess we would call that benchmarking. And we've definitely had conversations around where people are like, well, I can't, go and take something from what somebody else is doing. I wouldn't, just try not to think about it like that. It's other people are most likely doing, to some extent, something similar that you're doing, not in all cases, but in many. And it's okay to get inspired by or see how things are being done. We try not to use the word competition internally here at Cole Creative. We think everybody should be collaborative and cooperative, but in the world of business, competition, it's good, it's healthy, and we understand that. So I would encourage that you do take a peek at other websites, or just searching and other social media accounts, just kind of seeing what's going on, because you'll probably find more than you were expecting, or that you're originally looking for in that process.
That we call that swipe and deploy, right? And I think it's truly the way things are done. Look and see what they may not even be competitors. Look and see what other people that your clients or your customers are buying from. Look and see what they're doing. Honestly, it all comes. This is why I'm such a big proponent. Most business owners make the mistake of focusing on their products first. That's important, but actually who you serve, what challenges that they have, and what your ideas are around solving that challenge. So if you're in the water restoration business, there's probably something that you do that you believe is the absolute right thing to do, and you have your reasons, and you've probably never shared them with your customers or your clients. And here it's the very thing that makes you special.
Yep.
Okay, so those are things that you want to focus on and be specific about. Right.
Yeah, we refer to that oftentimes as humanizing your brand, or your business, organization, service, whatever it might be, and not to get too off topic with obviously the approaching your digital as a whole and whatnot, but I do think that's an important aspect of if you are putting all this time, effort, any resources, money behind getting yourself online and growing a business. I think that that's one of the, in my opinion, one of the core things that you should focus on is especially when looking at who the next consumers are going to be and at large, and the fact that, I mean, I'm a millennial. I know what millennials connect with, and we want to know that you stand for something, you give back to the world in some way, shape, or form, and keeping that all in mind if we're a part of your target demographic. And then, Gen Z, that's a whole other conversation, but then you have the older generations, which we also need to keep in mind. But again, I don't want to get too off topic here, but I think humanizing can go a long way. Build up those loyal customers, whether you're local or far and wide across the nation digitally.
And going back to keeping things simple, another thing I experience sometimes is I check someone's website out and nothing's really special out there, and on the call I ask them what's so special about them, and the business owner tells me all these amazing things. I'm like, why is none of that on the site? That was amazing. Like, just say that on the site, put it in the ad. You've been talking to customers for so long, what they want to hear, what they're looking for. Just make sure in the most simplest way, don't try to get too fancy. Whatever comes out of your mouth, make sure someone's writing it down on the site, and you're probably 90% of the way there.
That's a great point. I got to tell you, I'm gonna get personal on all of you people because if you're watching this and you're thinking, oh my God, it's all over the place, I have to tell you something. I've been through a journey over the last couple of years, and I've had to totally rebuild my website. I've actually wrote a website design guide that's on my site that kind of takes all the expensive lessons that I learned and kind of puts them all together in a way that we can understand. But I am going to say this, and that is, you've been watching all of these experts and everyone's talking about, I call it the 1,000 points of marketing. In the end, you will have to decide, what is it the thing that my business needs or is missing, or what you need to do to take your business forward. Only you know that. No agency is going to know that until you tell them. And an agency can't do their job. I'm talking about Holly here because I've worked with so many agencies. They're awesome people, but if you don't know your business, they're not going to know your business for you. So really, it's going to be up to you. Do the reading, but stick with your customer and what matters to them. And you'll never go wrong. You'll never go wrong, one step at a time. It took me 2 years to figure out what was wrong with my website. And if I hadn't taught, I swear to God, I must have talked to 300 SEO people over the course of 2 years. And everyone's going to give you a little piece of the answer. And then finally, I realized that, oh my God, I actually had too much content that wasn't updated enough. My website looked okay on mobile, but it's not matching the Google mobile requirements that started now. Google is checking your site on mobile first now. And if it doesn't do well, if it's hard to read, if it's, I don't know, whatever their little magical criteria are, it will get pushed down. I mean, Lior, do you know anything about that? Or Holly? I mean, maybe you guys know something a bit more technical. That's about all I know.
Listen to the SEO world.
Yeah, you're correct in that. I could speak to the fact that you're correct, and that's the first and foremost thing. It's interesting as web developers here, you build everything on a desktop first, and the last step you do is make everything mobile friendly before it goes live, and then do all your tests and whatnot. But because again, it's just based on the studies, how the world is, we're on this 24/7, and so that's what they want to make sure that the content that you're putting out there can be read and experienced on these sorts of devices that are smaller than the very big screen I'm on right now. I'm sure we've all opened a website on our phones that clearly just doesn't, it's just very zoomed in, and then you have to zoom in to actually read it. That means it's not mobile friendly, broken links, things like that. Ivana, you also said something that about having too much content that I just want us to kind of reinforce. If especially everybody is moving at the speed of light in 2021 in the digital world, I think, like, when I see that if you have a blog section and it hasn't been updated since 2016, it will make me question if you're relevant, if you're open, if you're still active. If the bottom of your website says, copyrighted in 2015, or, it's a website, like, there are little things that are going to make people question just how legitimate you are on the internet and on the digital world. And the reality is that might be the first impression and only impression that they have of you in today's day and age. So just making sure that whatever you do create, it's not done in an overwhelming way where you don't ever want to go back to it and keep it up to date in the process. I don't know if anybody wants to add to that, but yeah.
That was my big mistake, Holly, and it took me forever. I had 1,300 articles on my site. I was wondering why my traffic was dropping. Somebody had wanted to know about traffic. I'll tell you why my traffic was dropping. Because there were 1,300 articles, most of which, I had things about Meerkat and things that were like from 2008 that I had never updated. So that was a big mistake. So I had to go back. And that's why I'm telling you guys this. Just because we do this for a living doesn't mean, what is it, the shoemaker, whatever, right?
Yeah,
the shoemaker
walks barefoot, that kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, right. And I'm saying that you have to take a look at your site every couple years and make sure that it's structured properly, that your pages are updated, because now Google wants to see updated content. They want to see, especially if you've got products and services on there, they want to see activity. And that was a big mistake that I had, because there was a time where you were just supposed to have lots of content,
Yeah. And that's true. And I think sometimes it's like things can't change that much. We all, I think I could speak for the entire panel. They do. They're changing constantly and their expectations. And again, that's why there's people in our field that take the time to learn that, stay up to date with it. Another thing I wanted to throw out is accessibility is becoming more and more relevant with searches and the algorithms. I'm actually going to drop in the chat a tool that was shared by a local organization recently with us and that we've been leaning into. I think everyone can see that maybe. You could type in your own web address and it will give you scores and reports on just is the font too light? So somebody that might have a hard time reading it, are images too small, or things like that. So just something that you could utilize, again, not in an overwhelming way, but if anybody would want to run their own website through that and see how they score. Yeah.
Yeah, like to see if you have like dark font and a dark background, it's hard to read, it lets you know.
Absolutely. Hey, I am on this thing where my minimum font is something like 17 or 18 because it just needs to be a lot easier to read. Hey, Holly, there's a question in the chat for you. You talked about humanizing before, humanizing your brand. I think that's such a relevant point that you made that we can definitely chat about, because I'm going to direct your humanizing comment. I don't know if you've seen this with your small business clients, but a lot of small business owners I know, and this I think is really funny, they yearn to be big, so they tend to sound businessy and they want to look bigger than they really are. And at the same time, these giant enterprise brands are doing everything they can to look small and nimble. So I think that speaks to the humanizing point that I would say, feel free to express yourself. And now I'm going to toss it to you to elaborate.
No, I mean, that's great. It's like you have long hair, you want short hair, you have short hair, you want long hair. It's the same concept. We are in a very unique time. I'll call it, I don't want to word this the wrong way, like a silver lining almost of the pandemic, where right now we are localizing. We want to support local. We want to be a part of, and again, I guess I'm speaking from where I'm from, but we're seeing a lot of that. And so now is the time to not make yourself seem like you're this big, gigantic corporation. If you are that mom and pop shop down the street that supports your community and your family and the people that work there and their family because they've worked there for X amount of years, play into that, because that's who you are. So it's not really playing into it because it's literally authentic and it's who you are. I think that goes a lot further. And so you're hitting the nail on the head, Cheryl, with you said why you started what you are doing. I'm a big fan of what is your why? We could talk about how you do it, what the services are that you offer, but the why. And I mean, at the end of the day, and I love like the human connection aspect of business and marketing and creativity. But I love to know that there's a deep rooted why and story behind what's going on. And it makes me want to support it even more. I think we see a lot of it. I could, again, speak to Northeast Pennsylvania. I know the business owners around here, not because they're clients, but because it's just they put their face in front of their brand and vice versa. And then, oh, Chris and Donna of 11th Element, you think of Chris and Donna. And it kind of reinforces the real life connection. Again, I'm speaking small business here, small business aid, so I think it's relevant. I think there's just something, it sticks with you a little bit more than just seeing an ad pop up every once in a while on Facebook. If it's something that moves you, if you can share experiences, highs and lows, keep it real, celebrate with your community around you, with your customers, with your followers. Again, my personal opinion, but that's where we've seen success personally and with a lot of the collaborations that we get involved with.
Leora, you want to add something on e-commerce and humanizing?
Well, I mean, I think that the whole human side is definitely a big part of becoming a consultant. I mean, when I was managing $1 million a month accounts, whether they made another $200,000, no one really took accountability or cared. But now I have clients that are ready to close and they're making another $2,000, and we're excited, right? Because you get the personal touch, and it's a lot more fun working in that way. And the expectations to get better aligned, you get to know them. And one thing we do internally is whenever we get a new client, we rename the account to be their first name first and the account name. And tell the team it's always a person you're dealing with first, and then the account. And then it just builds out being straightforward, especially in our industry where there's so many opinions, so many different weird things going on. Just being on the up and up and being transparent is just, I think it's refreshing. I think it's just nice having that relationship. You're in a company where everything's on the up and up, you're trying to do well, and you're talking to them. And it's very long term, and even if they leave, honestly, everything's okay. If that's better for you, and then they come back, just if it works out. So just keeping that holistic is also going to get you the right clients. Because, for example, when we get large clients, it's not a great fit. I mean, yeah, it's a lot more money, of course, bigger accounts, but their expectations are different. It's a very different relationship, and it doesn't, as much as we want to, sometimes it doesn't work because we want to be personal. They want just reports for the sake of reporting, and it's like, come on. Just things like that. But whatever it is, getting the right type of client, but being yourself and authentic is just kind of the right way of going about it. And that will help get your message out in the e-commerce world. Just say what you're really about, how you would tell about to a friend, and that would separate your soap or your service from anyone else.
Awesome. So you guys, you're awful quiet. I know you were asking questions all the way down the line. Well, we're going to ask you again because we're going to close out here. I think we've got like just under 10 minutes. So this is an Ask Us Anything session. As you can see, we are here for you. So ask us, do you have marketing questions? Do you have e-commerce questions? I'm trying to think, or are you just feeling overwhelmed?
Yeah. Anything at all, any question come to mind, broad a sense in the online marketing world, and that works too.
Yeah, really. I think if we had to wrap it up, so while they're getting their questions together,
I'll give.
Go ahead.
I have a small fun tip for Google Ads, right? So oftentimes I get asked, what is a good headline to put for an ad to get great click-through rate? And I think a good trick is go to Google, put that search term, right, water restoration services. Scroll down to the first organic result. Look at that first headline. That's what Google says is the best headline for organic, that's free, that everyone's competing. Use that. Try to fit it in there, and that's probably 99% of the time will get you a better headline than other people. So
that's a great
tip. I love that. Oh, Jeff is asking the question, how important is website speed? Jeff, my man, I am a speed ninja. I love me some website speed. I like I think everybody does, and not just on, I mean, it's super important. It's super important for search, right? If you're searching for something and the thing won't come up, what are you going to do? You're going to go someplace else. So that's my take on that. How about you guys?
I mean, yeah, did we say it earlier about the attention span of a goldfish or something. I think somebody said that earlier.
Yeah.
I mean, that's everybody. That's everybody across the board. We're being trained for this immediate, like, it needs to load as soon as I click it. And I found myself, in a moment where I'm like, why am I being so impatient? It's literally been 3 seconds. But that's the reality, is that if we feel like we're waiting at this point, even if it's literally 3 to 5 seconds, you can lose people. And then of course, that affects bounce rates and how much time they're spending on your website, if they're ever going to return again. And then back to Ivana's point, is that that's also typically a part of the algorithms for Google, for example, where they're determining if you have a good enough website or not to be in top results, all of that good stuff. Did we
Google
talk at all?
will penalize you, right? If you're too slow.
Yes, they will.
And I think it's the easiest win to have, because when you're trying to say, how can I get my website to work better? People are thinking, what's the image? What's the content? What's the words I should use? And all these are a little subjective, but the most objective thing is, if you can get it going from 10 seconds to 5 seconds, it's going to be an absolute win no matter what. Like, it's a very simple win. And especially WordPress have a tool for that. So I think it's the easiest win on a conversion rate that you can have is dealing with the speed issue.
All I will tell you, Jeff, based on very expensive and long learning, get help, right? There's simple things you can do. That's putting a Band-Aid on it. You can compress your images, make sure you're not uploading, big giant images and so on and so forth. But there's so much more to it than that. I was such a speed junkie. I literally rebuilt my website. That's because it had digital dust bunnies. It was horrible.
Yeah, and there's tools like Google has one, web.dev, that you can test your website. It tells you what the issues are.
GTmetrix is really great too.
GTmetrix, I subscribe to that. Yep, that's a great one. GTmetrix breaks it down. And it's one of those things it's pretty clear. Is it working or not? Did you fix it or not? Is it faster or not? So that's a very good win to lean into.
I went from an F to an A, people.
So
that was a lot of work.
If you want to get fancy, then you deal with the GTmetrix stuff, and then you can move your hosting, your DNS, like the backend stuff, to Cloudflare. It's a free account.
Yes, that's another quick way to do things.
That got us from that close to me bugging my programmer to that A.
Okay, so Cheryl's asking, before we close, that videos are a good marketing tool. It is recommended to keep it less than 2 minutes. Is it sufficient to humanize your website, or should you have written content to support it? Wow, Cheryl, big question. People love video, but not everyone loves video. I've actually heard people like audio now too, with the rise of Clubhouse. So do video if you're into video, and you don't have to be on the video yourself. You can screen share, you can show images, right? So if your audience loves video, you got to do video. I got to do video. I don't like it, right? How about you guys?
I would say on the website, if I'm reading the question correctly, is have the video and then next to it have a blurb, because the video itself won't necessarily, unless you're on the back end adding the tags and all of the SEO important, odds and ends, you're not getting the same SEO, what's the word I'm looking for? Just result, if that makes sense for that. I don't know if Leora, if you wanted to add anything there, but.
Quick win though, people. Everyone is asking questions. When Holly brought up accessibility, if you're in the kind of business where people ask a lot of questions, you're in like a detail type of business, take that opportunity to take those frequently asked questions. Don't answer them on one page. Just do like a decent sized article, maybe include some video, and answer that question. And you know how you're going to know? You're going to know when you search that question on Google. And if there's a lot of ads or anything, you know that that's a commercial term. So answer the question.
Yep. Another quick win on websites is helping the user understand what they need to do next. The headline is going to make sure, okay, I'm on the right spot. Talk a little about yourself, why, build a trust, how you can solve the problem. But then when they're ready, make sure it's very clear, okay, what do I do next? Do I call you? Do I fill out a form? Do I schedule an appointment? And even there, you can say, schedule an appointment that requires more commitment from them. So maybe if that's not working, maybe they'll try to just fill out a contact form. Don't commit to a meeting yet, right? Try to back out of it. A lot of ways it can go, but make sure it's very simple to know, I got to the right spot, headline. You do what I need to, you can solve my problem, and I think you trust and the ability, and now I know what I need to do next to help me.
Okay, Leora, sorry to jump in here, but we have to turn it over to Heather so she can close us out. It was great. Thank you so much. And Heather's going to explain where people can go to get their follow-up questions answered.
Yeah, thank you so much. You all did such a
Thank you, everyone.
Lots
Thank
of
you so much.
information. Thank you for all attendees for attending this session of Small Biz Ave Live. To continue the conversation, please join the Small Business website Support Alignable Small Business Group at the link I just provided. I'll provide it again. It's kind of went up in the chat. Recordings of the session will be available within the next day or so, and links to each recorded session will be provided on our event page within the agenda. Thank you again. Have a great day. We've got one last session today. If you want to stay put, it'll be joining shortly. If not, have a wonderful afternoon. Thanks so much.
Bye, everyone.